The Wheel of Time show had a very unconventional run. Where many popular shows start out strong and see a gradual decrease in quality the deeper they get into the series, The Wheel of Time stumbled out of the gate, with a poor first season, maligned by COVID interrupting production, losing a major cast member mid-season, and some very strange and poorly conceived adaptational changes. Despite this terrible start, The Wheel of Time trudged forward, giving us a much improved second season, though one that still had some obvious flaws. The third season of The Wheel of Time blew its two predecessors out of the water, and is without a doubt the best season in the series, and is in itself a great season of television.
Season 3 is the one that is right where in the sweet spot, which this is the show I dreamed of making from the get-go.
It is some of the most fun I have had with a fantasy TV series in a while. And just when The Wheel of Time seems to have found its footing, its infinite potential fully on display, Amazon cancelled the show. If Amazon had cancelled the show after one of the first two seasons, I may have been a little bummed out, but would have definitely understood. But having the show be cancelled after such an excellent season was truly disappointing. Now, the rights to The Wheel of Time are actually owned by Sony, who commissioned Amazon to make the series, and perhaps the cancellation came as a result of the two companies being unable to negotiate a new deal that both parties were happy with. I also think that Amazon had quietly lost faith in the series prior to the third season even airing, as it seemed like there was almost no promotion for the show in the lead up to the new season, to the point where most people were entirely unaware that the new season was even out yet. I think this is also exemplified by Amazon making a mistake in submitting The Hills of Tanchico for Emmy consideration Outstanding Original Music. If it was something they actually cared about, they would have managed to submit it properly. And I feel like this cancellation is a true shame, as Season 3 gave me so much hope that the show would continue on and allow us to experience some of the greatest moments from the books in a live-action medium. The show has only continued to improve with each season, and if this trend continued, we the audience would have been in store for something truly special. In my opinion, The Wheel of Time deserves another season. In this video, I will be taking an in-depth look at Season 3 of The Wheel of Time, highlighting the successes and failures of the season. Spoilers ahead.
We're going to the last place the Forsaken or anyone else would ever think to look for me. A place to find the army I need to fight the Shadow. We're going to the Aiel Waste.
The Aiel Waste storyline is the best part of the season, with so many highlights throughout it. It really helped to expand the world of the show in new and interesting ways, whilst also giving the characters featured throughout it some of the most depth of any in the show. One of the major criticisms of the second season was that Rand, the Dragon Reborn himself, was weirdly sidelined in his own story. His standout moments from the books were seemingly diminished or co-opted by other characters, making Rand's presence throughout the second season feel muted. Rand is the main character of the story, full stop. And so getting him right and giving him the focus he deserves is vital in making a successful show. And I am pleased to say that Rand indeed gets his cookies this season, and is in my opinion the most interesting character of the season. He is immediately a driving force for the plot. He has come to accept that he is the dragon.
Well, of course I know him. He's me.
No longer trying to run from his destiny, but embracing it head on. He starts researching the prophecies, arming himself with the knowledge he will need to best prepare him for what's to come. Everyone is trying to manipulate him and to pull him in different directions. However, Rand won't be swayed, and instead forges his own way forward by going to the Aiel Waste. The Aiel, in many ways, are the missing key for Rand. I think he is trying to find a place where he can belong. Even though he was raised in the Two Rivers, and that will always be his home, he knows he can't go back there.
It also shows how vulnerable Rand is this season. I think deep down he's also desperately looking for a home, and that's not the Two Rivers, that's a new home because he knows he can never go back.
The Aiel represents some part of his past through his birth parents that he wishes to uncover. In order to understand himself better, he first feels he must try and understand the Aiel. Going to the Waste also makes sense as he is trying to improve his strength and standing in the world. The Aiel are the people of the dragon, so who better to try and win to your side before dealing with the other kingdoms? Rand's relationship with Moiraine is greatly explored in this season and is a definite highlight for me.
Amazing journey this season for Rand and Moiraine. I mean, it's the heart of the season for me.
The two struggle to trust each other as they find themselves at odds with what to do next.
If the wind holds, we'll be in Tyr in a week.
We're not going to tear.
There are some great moments where they try to understand each other, and Rand shares his struggles with maintaining his composure, as there's so much power constantly at his disposal, and how he must try not to give in to temptation and the madness that comes with it. Their journey to Rhuidean is the absolute highlight of the season, as it is a visual spectacle that tells us so much about the characters and the Aiel as a people. I think it was a great idea to have Rand's actor, Josef Stradowski, to embody all of Rand's ancestors, giving the audience a visual through line that they can use to ground themselves with. This season was a coming out party for Stradowski, as he was terrific throughout it, and this episode in particular is his crowning achievement. I really liked the editing decision of having a flicker effect as Rand enters another vision. One of my favorite sequences is the flashback that focused on Luwin, showing how extreme the Way of the Leaf can be, banishing someone just for trying to rescue his sister.
They hurt her. What else could we do?
We bury our dead, and we go on. What else is there?
His mother telling him to cover his face is just brutal in the best way.
Who are you that calls me mother? Hide your face from me, stranger. I had a son once with a face like that. I don't want to see it on a killer.
I also loved that when Rand is walking through the columns, he is physically struggling so much, each step forward weighing him down with the things that he is seeing. The final sequence was also particularly great, as it allowed us to see Lanfear before she swore her oaths, humanizing her in a way, but also showing just how ancient of a being she really is. Also, the song that they're singing is catchy as hell, and Rand's ancestor staring up into the broken sky is visually stunning. Moiraine's journey through Rhuidean is also great. The great rings look otherworldly, and it is a very cool visual seeing her get lifted up into them. Her glimpses of possible futures showed so much, and I loved the spinning effect that transitioned from one future to another. Seeing Lanfear dummy her over and over puts the fear into Moiraine, as it forces her to completely change her plans moving forward.
Because in every future where I lived, Rand dies. And the only way he lives is if I don't.
I love the shot of Rand carrying Moiraine out of Rhuidean, and the look that they share afterwards, as they are both forever changed from their experiences within, sharing an understanding with each other that they didn't have before. Before the season aired and I heard that Matt wasn't going to the Aiel Waste like he does in the books, I was really nervous. However, I was pleasantly surprised with how everything played out, and even though I would have loved to see Matt in Rhuidean, I understand why they decided to go the direction they did. After Rhuidean, Moiraine has to come to terms with the fact that she won't be able to guide Rand forever, and instead has to prepare him for once she is gone. I think once she comes to this realization, her and Rand are able to work together much better, and grow to appreciate one another. I thought it was a great moment when Rand acknowledged all that Moiraine has done for him on his journey, showing a maturity that he previously lacked.
Thank you. I'm here because of you. I see that now.
Rand has two more standout moments, the first of which is when Samael attacks and Rand absolutely destroys him. The power emanating from him in this scene is incredible, as he dunks on Samael, seemingly as an afterthought.
That shit is too easy.
It's heartbreaking though, when Rand realizes he killed Alcera in the process of fighting off Samael. His grief and anguish is on full display as he funnels all of his power into Alcera's corpse, willing her back to life. Rand realizes in this moment that he will bring destruction in equal measure to the salvation he hopes to provide.
I bring destruction.
I think a part of him dies with Alcera, as he feels fully responsible for her death.
And it's the first moment where he creates this intense hate, not only towards the people who pressure him or push him into something, but really towards himself.
I also love the fact that Moiraine is the one who is finally able to get him to calm down. I will say though that the show kind of wasted Samael.
How did you get that scar?
My father was a drinker and a fiend.
He's dispatched by Rand pretty easily and then murdered by Moghedien. He almost feels too weak, making the Forsaken as a whole come across as less imposing. It was also odd that no one was left to guard him, considering he is one of the Forsaken. The other standout moment for Rand is when he declares himself as Kara Karn in front of the Aiel chiefs.
I am your Kara Karn!
He doesn't shy away from the moment, even with an imposter in Rhuidean having gotten to the masses first. Rand knows things that Rhuidean doesn't. He's willing to say things that Rhuidean won't. And after what happened with Alcera, Rand knows that his existence in itself is destructive, and he is not running away from that aspect. He tells the Aiel the truth of their existence.
Oathbreakers!
That they once followed the way of the leaf. He does this while channeling and bringing down the rains, revealing himself to be the true Kara Karn.
Listen, I gave!
I really like Moraine's dynamic with Lanfear for the most part. I think it may have gone a bit too far with her being in cahoots with Lanfear to attack the kids early on. I just feel like even though Moraine is ruthless, she would have gone about that a bit differently to try and manipulate them into doing what she wanted. Their climactic fight at the end of the season was good and leaves them off in an interesting place. My one complaint about the fight would be that it felt a little too close quarters, and they used more melee style attacks than I think they should have. Egwene also accompanies the crew to the Aiel Waste, and has an interesting journey this season of her own. In the books, when Rand and Egwene are reunited after being apart for some time, they both just kind of agree that they no longer see each other in a romantic way, and their split is very drama-free.
You want to stop doing this? Yeah.
The show puts much more of a focus on their breakup, having Rand dream cheat on Egwene with Lanfear.
Oh my god, he dream cheated on you!
On its own, I can kind of take or leave this plot point, but in the larger context of the arc they were giving Egwene, I think it works decently well. A lot of the season, Egwene is trying to put forward this idea that she loves and trusts Rand, no matter what.
I'm not afraid of you, Rand.
However, over the course of the season, her faith in him is shaken by things he does, as well as outstanding circumstances. They show that Egwene has this fear that she is wrong about Rand, and that he will eventually succumb to the madness, as shown in her trip through the arches. When the mirror attack happens, a mirror Rand chokes her, and another one stabs her. Even though it wasn't actually Rand who attacked her, the mirror Rands hurt her, and it helps to build this association that Rand is dangerous. Rand dream-boning Lanfear while Egwene gets tortured by her adds to Egwene's uncertainty as she ends up questioning whether or not Rand knew what Lanfear was doing to her. She sees this as a massive betrayal. She also witnesses Rand accidentally killing Alcera and the frantic state he is in the wake of her death. She is deeply disquieted by this event, seeing the destructive nature of Rand, as well as what it looks like when he loses control. When Rand declares himself Kara Karn and embraces the Source, Egwene pulls a Chani, being the only one not to bow, instead looking on in horror as she is scared of what Rand might become. I think the show did a really good job telling the story of Egwene's growing concerns about Rand, the through line ever present throughout the season.
But you're closest to him. You're the one who will see the first signs. And the more he channels, the more the madness will take him.
My criticism surrounding Egwene is mostly about her lying to the Wise Ones about being a full-fledged Aes Sedai, and how her disobeying them about going into Tel'aran'rhiod is glossed over super fast.
You promised not to enter Tel'aran'rhiod without us.
An Aes Sedai cannot lie.
Well, I'm not an Aes Sedai. I lied about that too.
She should owe toe to the Wise Ones for these actions, and Egwene humbling herself to the Aiel is a major part of her character growth in the books. I feel like by ignoring Egwene's transgressions, we lose out on some of the richness in the dynamic between Egwene and the Wise Ones. I definitely enjoyed the Tanchico storyline, with Tanchico providing an interesting backdrop for our characters to try and navigate. It expands the world in a fun way, as Tanchico has this seedy vibe to it, almost feeling like a pirate city of sorts. I liked how the show expanded on Elaine, making it clear to the audience that she is one of our main characters moving forward, despite joining late. We get to meet her family and see how growing up as the daughter heir has affected her, with her mother placing weighty expectations on her all her life. Growing up with that pressure has led to Elaine's own drive to be great, and to live up to her mother. It was fun to see Gabriel slither his way into the royal family of Andor, making everyone he meets feel like they've known him their whole lives, even though he's just got here.
Who the f are you?
Lord Gabriel.
He's been living here almost a year now? Are you losing your mind?
There's no such thing as an
Lord Gabriel.
That is
Forsaken.
I feel like other than Lanfear, he was the most interesting Forsaken that we got to see this season, manipulating from the shadows as he quickly gained a strong position from which to enact his plans. I also really enjoyed Elaine and Nynaeve's dynamic, as the events of season 2 helped them learn to trust each other.
Last season we saw them kind of butting heads and they're bickering, but through that and through their experience together in farm, I think they've really come to understand how much they balance each other out.
The scene where they are under Moghedien's compulsion might be my favorite scene of theirs. It is definitely Moghedien's best moment, and if I am being honest, outside of the scene, I found Moghedien to be a bit disappointing. The show really takes its time to try and build her up as an intimidating presence, but she doesn't really do all that much in the end. She did, however, succeed in grossing me out.
That's disgusting.
I do have some complaints in regards to Elaine, and to a lesser extent, Nynaeve. It's not really a big deal, but Elaine and Nynaeve should have been able to feel the sea folk channeling while they were on the ship. I also just think, in general, Nynaeve was too passive this season, almost to the point of timidity. To this point, I feel like her characterization should have remained stubborn, headstrong, and bold. Also, while the song is a little catchy, the build-up to the whole Hills of Tanchico performance is goofy. Having some random no-name recognize Elaine as the daughter heir of Andor feels incredibly far-fetched.
I'm not so drunk I can't see the daughter heir of bloody Andor before me.
As far as we know, this rando has never even been to Andor, and yet he somehow recognizes Elaine. It's not like he has access to photos or gossip magazines of the continent's royalty. There's no keeping up with the Trakons. It makes sense that Tom could recognize her, as he knew her as a child, as well as her mother. The scene gets more questionable as Tom comes in and says that she is doing her classic daughter heir of Andor scheme.
Has she been doing her daughter heir of Andor bit again?
Even though she was denying being the daughter heir moments ago.
You're a goat-kissing fool if you think that the daughter heir of bloody Andor will be here with the likes of you.
Instead of playing it up like if it were an actual scheme. I just felt like the scene was kind of cringe. I did, however, enjoy the reintroduction of Tom and learning about his shared history with Elaine and Morghese. I wish, though, that we got more time with Tom, because I doubt many show-only watchers really remember Tom from season 1, or really care about him in any meaningful way. His and Elaine's encounter with the Black Aja allow us to get a glimpse at what Balefire looks like in the show. The initial casting of Balefire is not really how I pictured it at all, but it still looked cool in a futuristic laser beam sort of way. However, I did like the effect used after the Black Aja was killed and undid her last few actions. I felt like it was a great way to illustrate to the viewer the effects of Balefire. I think they did a decent job exploring Nynaeve and her block this season. They showed how she tries to be in control whenever she can, clinging to it desperately so that she doesn't feel helpless. They show her letting go in small ways throughout the season, up until the climax of her arc, where Liandrin throws her into the sea, intent on drowning her. While it was a good moment, as Nynaeve essentially listens to her own advice, letting go and going with the flow in order to access the one power, I couldn't help but feel slightly underwhelmed. The moment just didn't feel as impactful as it should have. It was a nice visual though, as Nynaeve parted the sea.
Everyone part like the Red Sea!
Matt tags along with the Wonder Girls this season, even though in the book he is in Rhuidean with Rand. Now it might just be because Matt is probably my favorite character in the whole series, but I think they did a pretty good job integrating him into the Tanchico storyline, and he was probably the highlight of it for me. The show slightly remixes some things with Matt, as in the show he starts seeing people's past lives after he blew the Horn of Valir. Dealing with these memories is his mission this season, as he wants to stick close to Nynaeve to try and cure him of them.
If anyone can fix me, my head, so
I think this is a decent reason the show justified to have Matt stay behind. Matt's showdown with Galad and Gawain is really fun, allowing the audience to see a different side of Matt. I really enjoyed how they built up the encounter with Matt being annoyed at the princes earlier on, and with Galad constantly playing the White Knight and butting in when he is not really needed or wanted.
Sorry, miss, is this man bothering you? I think the lady said she wanted to leave.
Mate, have a day off!
The fight itself looked great. My only complaints about the scene are that I wish it was in a more public setting. Matt walking through the doorway and being pulled into the world of the eelfin was one of the highlights of the season for me. It seemingly comes out of nowhere and is captivating for the entire scene. The audience is as surprised as Matt, having fallen into this alien world, not understanding what is going on, but in like the best way possible. The actor who played the eelfin, Robert Strange, did a spectacular job, embodying this creature with an otherworldliness to him. The look of the eelfin was mostly achieved with real prosthetics, and even though it's not how I pictured the eelfin, I think it works great for the show. The introduction of the eelfin shows some of the more unique elements that make the Wheel of Time such a great series. Matt's answers to the eelfin's questions were pretty good, especially since he didn't really understand what he was saying or the implications. If he were to go back and had time to think about it a bit more, he would have asked the eelfin to renew the Wheel of Time for season 4. Or is that just me? The one thing I didn't like about Matt's journey this season was the way Min and him forgave each other. This has less to do with the season and more to do with the mistake from season 2, where Min is essentially a dark friend and was selling Matt out. But Min playing the victim to try and guilt trip Matt into feeling bad for her when she was the one who sold him out really annoyed me. Matt and Min being on good terms again was necessary for the show to move forward, and so I mostly see this moment as course correcting a mistake from a previous season.
What would you give for the 2 rivers?
Everything.
Perrin's storyline in The Shadow Rising is probably my favorite arc of his, so I was very excited to see how it translated to the show. I found it really interesting to see Perrin return home, trying to cling on to who he was and the life he used to have, and as the season goes on, he realizes more and more that there is no going back to the way things were. When Perrin returns, he finds that the White Cloaks are camped just outside of town, and that Trollocs are nearby, putting the townsfolk's farms to the torch. With all of his experiences that he has had since leaving the 2 rivers, Perrin reluctantly steps into the role of a leader, doing what he has to do to help protect his people.
If we stay here, all of us,
we have a chance.
The role of leader does not sit easily on Perrin's shoulders, and I enjoy how the show really takes the time to explore this element of Perrin's character.
Lord Perrin taught us well.
Don't call me that.
He feels a responsibility to the people of the 2 rivers, but also an immense sense of guilt, as he is the reason that the White Cloaks are here in the first place. When people start looking to him, he feels unqualified, knowing in his gut that he will lead them to their deaths.
I keep seeing their faces, looking at me when they realize I led them to their death.
I think the introduction of Aiel complements him perfectly during his journey to leadership. Aiel is a really fun character and acts as a balance for Perrin. Where he is quiet, she is outspoken. Where he is methodical, she is bold. When he gets down on himself for the decisions he has had to make, Aiel is able to show Perrin his value and reaffirm for him that he is doing the right thing.
The 2 rivers follows you because you're one of them. If you can fight monsters, so can they.
She challenges him in ways that help both of them grow as people. Most of the season, Perrin is trying to protect Aiel, to send her away out of danger. It's a really nice moment when in the battle for the 2 rivers, Perrin realizes that Aiel has every right to fight just as he does, and that he trusts her to protect herself and to watch his back. While I enjoyed every interaction we got of Perrin trying to rally the people of the 2 rivers, I wish we got a bit more of it. It would have been great to see more personal interactions that he has with some of the people, which would have helped illustrate him struggling with his role as leader. Unfortunately, the biggest culprit of pulling focus from Perrin in his journey is the duo of Alana and Maxim. There's a lot of melodrama surrounding these 2, and most of their scenes felt unnecessary to me. I understand to some degree why they're making Alana a bigger character in the show, but her dynamic with Maxim was grating, as the 2 did little more than constantly argue with each other. Alana was also involved in some of the wonkier moments of this storyline. I feel like there is a bit of an issue this season where characters were tantamount to pincushions, getting stabbed and shot countless times to the point where they should be dead. Nynaeve was stabbed 11 times. Leandrin was twin sword stabbed through the chest. Alana was shot up with over 5 arrows, and then later on was impaled by a super arrow. I get that the one power can heal them, but some of these wounds seemed excessive to the point where they should have bled out before any healing could even happen. It was also convenient that the first time Alana needed healing, Matt's sisters were able to fix her up, no problem. But during the battle, when she needed healing, they weren't able to.
I don't know what's happening, it's not working.
I felt like the writers needed an excuse to take Alana out of the battle, so that's why they couldn't heal her. Matt's sisters had no issues channeling to kill Valda, and apparently later that night they were able to heal Alana also without any problems. This part just felt a little lazy to me on the writer's behalf. I did enjoy seeing the White Cloaks and their twisted version of morality. I felt like they did a good job showing that the White Cloaks believe they are doing the right thing and see themselves as good people, but their actions often come from a place of fear and ignorance, leading them to make some very bad decisions. I also enjoyed seeing Dane Bornhald in the throes of grief, and how that has led him to his wit's end. In almost every scene he is in, he is casually drinking, something that you might not notice right away, but does a good job of showing how he is coping.
What side he's drinking, do you suppose? I don't know, but I don't think it's pumpkin juice.
The Tuatha appearing just before the battle helps to highlight some story elements. There is the obvious connection to the Aiel after what we learned in Rhuidean, and how Bane and Chiad treat the Tinkers. But it also helps to reinforce this conflict in Perrin of wanting a world without violence, but at the same time coming to terms with what needs to be done. I did find it a bit funny though, how Ela sees Perrin commit a ton of violence, but speak about how he wishes he didn't have to, and she is super impressed. But when Aram tries to abstain from violence at almost any cost, but is upset that their people are dying, she gets pissed at him. The battle itself is great, multifaceted and visually interesting. I enjoyed Perrin singing the song for Manetheren, getting the townsfolk to sing with him, showing that they are all united. There's also a moment during the battle where the music switches up, and Perrin goes Ultra Instinct mode, which I thought was really well done. The moment where Perrin has Padden Fane dead to rights and doesn't kill him initially was a little off-putting, but I eventually came around to it. I get that the idea is for Perrin to win the battle not through violence, but through mercy. It's just that in the moment, I couldn't help but yell at my TV. Do it. I kinda wish that the two rivers were just able to repel the Trollocs more straight up, as opposed to having Fane call them off. Also, it needs to be said, but the White Cloaks deal is total trash. They show up late, and accidentally are harboring dark friends in their ranks, allowing the enemy through the gates and making the fight that much more difficult to win. And yet, after the fighting is over, they are still super insistent on taking Perrin.
That's a shit deal.
Perrin's victory is not without its losses though, as Loial dies trying to protect the Waygate. Now, Loial doesn't die here in the books, and I won't lie that his death was a definite bummer for me. I understand why they killed him, as the show wanted to have a character we care about die, to give the battle more stakes, and show that they did not get away unscathed.
For us with Loial, it was seeing that there is a cost to this battle in the two rivers.
I don't love killing off Loial here, as I think moving forward he still could have played an interesting role, even if it is more in the background. But given the limited time they have each season, I understand their decision to give him a big heroic moment and then kill him off. I guess my complaint would be that they seem to be able to make time for a character like Maxim moving forward, but not Loial.
It's not the tower or the seat that makes us who we are, it is us.
The Tar Valon storyline starts out with a bang this season, as we see the Black Aja kick things off against the rest of the Aes Sedai. Liandrin's trial is great, as it feels like a momentous event. While being questioned by Swan, Liandrin pulls the Uno Reverse card and tries to call out Swan's actions from Season 2. Swan pointedly never does answer Liandrin's accusation, and if it weren't for Star Witness Nynaeve, Liandrin may have been able to weasel her way out of the hot seat. Following Liandrin and her crew's departure, the Tar Valon storyline focuses mostly on the battle for influence and power between Swan and Elaida. I think it's interesting the way they both go about securing their alliances and try to suss out who they can trust in the wake of the Black Aja reveal. I think it's telling that Swan is convinced that Elaida is Black Aja, and that she feels uncovering that truth is an inevitability.
Bring me the truth, so I can take Elaida's head.
Elaida is an interesting presence this season, as she goes about trying to rebuild her sphere of influence after years away from the tower. We see her having mixed results in her attempts to win favor, and ultimately it is a misplay by Swan and Lyanna that allows Elaida to make her move. I would have liked to see a bit more of Elaida's behind the scenes machinations that allowed her to overthrow Swan, as I felt like we were missing some of the connective tissue. Also, the flashback to when Swan initially won the Amyrlin seat was a little goofy, where all of the sitters waited a ridiculously long time to cast their vote. Obviously it was for dramatic effect, but where the Keeper had moved on from Swan and was asking for Elaida votes, I felt like they missed their chance to vote for Swan. Swan's death is also a controversial moment, as she does not die here in the books. After she is deposed as Amerlin and stilled, she goes to live a second life, fueled by her desire for revenge. I actually don't hate the decision to kill off Swan here, as where the show needs to condense a lot, I think it makes sense to wrap up Swan's arc when she is overthrown. Obviously, in an ideal world, they are able to continue Swan's story, but I understand why they would choose to cut it off here. I also think Swan's last scene is probably her best in the entire show, as she stands defiant, giving a killer speech and telling Elida to suck it.
Yes, you would be up for a 4th season if it gets
We
green.
certainly would.
Yes.
It's a story that needs to be told.
Go.
As is evident from some of my criticisms, I don't think The Wheel of Time is a perfect show. However, the highs of this season, as well as the continued improvement displayed by the show season after season, leaves me convinced that The Wheel of Time deserves another season to continue telling this great story. Before the Wheel of Time show came out, I had heard of the book series, but had continued to put off reading them, as the series' length felt overwhelming for someone just getting into it. Only after watching the first season of the show did I finally commit to reading the books. Thanks to the books, I was able to experience some of my favorite literary moments and characters. I feel like I have the show to thank for finally getting me to take the plunge, and I have no doubt others, like me, started reading the books after watching the show. If the show, warts and all, led more people to experience the books, I can't help but think of the show as a success. With that said, seeing moments from the books put to screen is something that I found to be deeply satisfying, as is evidenced by the joy of getting to see Rhuidean this season. And with the show cancelled, I can't help but think of all of the moments that we will never get to see put to screen, and that makes me feel incredibly sad. I've seen some people celebrating the cancellation of the show, often accompanied by the sentiment that now we can start fresh and get an actual good adaptation. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this adaptation was kind of all or nothing. I highly doubt anyone will try and reboot the Wheel of Time for at least another 20 years, if not more, after how everything went down. I think the cancellation of the Wheel of Time is the end of an era for streaming. In the wake of Game of Thrones, every streaming platform was throwing money to try and capture that audience. But with the Wheel of Time's cancellation, and the streaming landscape having changed in the last 5 years, I feel like there will be far fewer ambitious fantasy shows being announced. Before the premiere of Season 2, I released a video asking if there was still hope for the Wheel of Time, to which I emphatically answered yes. At the time, I was talking about the quality of the show, and in my opinion, Seasons 2 and 3 proved me correct. However, after the cancellation, I once again find myself asking if there is still hope for the Wheel of Time, and my answer is far less certain. I am not full no hope, but the chances of it getting picked up by a different network feel very slim. There are some truly dedicated fans out there, making as much noise as possible to try and get another season. The Save What movement is working diligently, having achieved over 180,000 signatures to bring the show back, buying billboards, and even flying banner planes to get the word out. I truly hope they are successful, as it feels wrong to end the story here, where it's left feeling so incomplete. If you somehow made it to the end of this video, I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.